Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at how to create your own custom data model and the BI Publisher report. In the last video we just took a look at high-level overview of the data model and the report. In this video we're going to get into more details. We're going to create our own custom data model. If you're new here, my name is Arun. I make videos on Oracle ERP Cloud, EPM, integrations, and analytics. If you're interested in seeing more videos on those topics, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get into it. So first thing, you have to be in the BI Publisher catalog. So you can see I am logged into the BI Publisher catalog. I'm in the custom folder. I created another folder called BIP tutorials, and that's where we will create the data models and the report. The first thing I wanted to show you is how to create a folder, right? And it's pretty simple, but I just wanted to start there. If you're in the catalog, navigate to custom folder and then click on this drop down where it says new, and you should see the first option, which is the folder. So click on folder and then you can go ahead and create a folder called BIP tutorials. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder called data model. So click on folder and data models. Now, as you can see, the action created a folder called data models, and the idea is I'm going to create all of the data models within this folder. So the next step is to create very first data model. And to do that, two different ways to do that. So once you're in the folder, you can click on the new and go to published reporting and click on data model. Or you could go up to the top right hand section of the web page and then click on create and click on data model. So either one works, so I'm going to go with this. What it does is it's going to by default open up the data model and it's going to open up the diagram section. Okay, I want you to go back to the properties section, so click on properties. You can give it a description. So I'm just going to call this AP invoices, and by default it's going to come as default data source demo, right? This is how it's going to come up. Now, since we're going to deal with mostly financials tables, I'm going to change this to FSCM. All right. So that means financial and supply chain. Let me change this back to demo and I'll tell you why I want to change this to change the default data source. So if I go back to data set and click on this new data set option and select SQL query, you'll see that the data source defaults to demo default. So let me go ahead and select the data source here. I'll just call this one, click on OK and give it SQL. So let's call with select star from deal. All right. And then let's say you have to create another data set. You click at SQL query. You'll see that again, it defaults to the demo data source. We don't want that. We want to make your life easy, right? So let's go ahead and remove this data set. And so select the data set and then click on the delete selected data set option. Okay, let's go back to the properties. Let's change this to FSCM. Now let's come back here, click on create SQL query. Now you'll see that the data source defaults to FSCM. I've seen this, whenever you start with building data models, I've seen this so many times that people do this. Just change the data source, default data source. So for this example, we are going to work with AP invoices. So I'm going to call this, give it a name, AP invoices. First thing, if you don't have a lot of knowledge about the tables and you want to see what columns are included in the table, right? So I know the table name AP invoices all. So what I can do is I can type in select star from AP invoices. If I could type invoices all. Click on OK. And what it does is it gives you this complete list of columns, which is in that table, AP invoices all. Now I can click on data and click on view and change the view from tree view to table view and you'll see the list of tables. So this way, if you don't know which columns are part of that table, this is one way for you to do it. So you can see, okay, these are all the tables these are all the columns that are part of this table. So in this case, I see vendor ID, invoice number, invoice amount, amount paid, and if I scroll to the right, invoice date, what's the invoice type, description. So you can see all of the columns. So this is one way for you to see the columns that are part of the table. Okay, I'm going to leave it there and then go ahead and create another data set. So you can have multiple data sets within the data model. So I'm going to go ahead and create one more. So create SQL query, and you'll see that the data source defaults to FSCM data source. All right. So I'm just going to call this invoices. What I want to do is now, every time I have a doubt, I can look at the existing data set, which is the complete list of the columns, right? So I can look at that. Obviously, you can only see so many, but if I just select, I know I need vendor ID, then invoice num, invoice date, amount paid, invoice type, lookup code, description. All right, so maybe I need more columns, more columns in the query, but I don't know which columns they are. So I'm going to just close this query, click on OK. All right, so it gives you two data sets, one existing data set, the one we just created, and you'll see that it only shows you the columns that you have in the select clause. Now I want to look up other columns, right? So I can scroll down and look up those columns, right? Or I can go to data and then I can click on view, change the view to table view, and I can see, okay, what other columns do I need? So I can look through it and figure out, okay, maybe I want to use the total tax amount, right? Maybe that's something that you want to, so you can see validated tax amount here. If you go to total tax amount, also want to look at the payment method code, right? So what was the payment method used for the payment? So let's go ahead and add those columns. So it was total tax amount and payment method code. All right, so it's an easy for you to look at what columns are part of that table, and then obviously use that in your actual query. Now I can go ahead and delete this, so I don't need that anymore. So you have this data sets that is going to be part of your final data model, and it appears in the order in which that you have in the select clause, right? Now can I rearrange it? Yes, you can. So maybe I want description before the invoice date, so I can rearrange that. All right, so I have vendor ID, invoice number, description, invoice date, invoice type, lookup code, total tax amount, and maybe I want total tax amount before the invoice type, lookup code. Okay, so this is how I want to look at. So again, I can go back to the data, click on view, and that's going to show me the data model. All right. The other change that I can do is, change the invoice date to, look much more user-friendly, things like that. One of the things I want to talk about here is this is really small. The query editor that you have is extremely small. So I would recommend you to have a text editor like Notepad++ or TextPad. I personally use Visual Studio Code. So this is how I will write, right? So I have this SQL query. So I'm gonna copy and paste that into the query editor. Okay, so click OK, and then I have that in my query. Then I can click on view and look at that. All right, so I would highly recommend you using a query editor or a text editor. I use Visual Studio Code. It's free to use. I can also use Notepad++ or any other editor that you like. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the structure. So you can click on structure. In the structure, it's going to show you the XML tag name and the display name. So if I want the tag name to be something else, something different, I can change it to something that I want. So in this case, I'm going to change this to vendor identifier. Oh, just so I can show you how it works. So now if I click on data and click on view, you'll see that now in the XML tag, it shows as vendor identifier and not vendor ID. So you do have the option to customize. The other thing that you would notice here is like invoices. It's a group, right? This is a group of columns or data elements. You do have the option to change that as well. Now, I can change that here as well. So if I click on the data sets and click on the menu option and then go to properties, I can change this to G invoices, and I can copy and paste that here, click OK. So you'll see that the data set name has changed. And then if I go into data, click on view, you'll see that the group name is G invoices, right? So there are a few things that you can do. This one shows you, so the data type itself. So this is, what type of data type it is for each of the fields. So obviously number, text, date, number, text, number, right? So that's how it is. Now you can, there are a few things that we will look at in the later videos, but this is how you would create a data sets. This is how we change the display options. Then click on data, click on view. You can change the view itself. So tree view and table view. Let's say you're happy with this. All right, let's go ahead and save this. So click on save. Let's navigate to the folder. So custom and BIP tutorials, data model. And let's give it a name, AP DM. You can give it a description as well if you want. Let's keep it okay. All right. All right, so you have saved it. Now, for you to see this, I'm going to open up a new tab. All right, let's click on catalog. All right, so it's going to show up like this, AP invoices _ TM, right? So this is where you can see the data model itself. Cool. Now, let's go ahead and try to create a report, right? So click on create report. So now it says, okay, the template builder is dependent on sample data. Click cancel and click view data to return a small number of rows and save as sample data. Click OK to exit without sample data. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this. So what it is saying is that for us to, when we build a template, when we create the report, we have to use a template. And if you want to see the sample data, you have to click on the view option. Let's say, let me change this to 10, click on view, and then select the save as sample data option. So I'm going to use save as sample data. So what it does is it creates a sample XML file, which can then be used when we build a template. So you can see how the data looks, right? So that's why it is needed. All right, so I'm gonna click on create report now. So no complaints this time because we have looked at the data, we have created the sample data in the system. All right, this one we're just gonna use the report editor, right? So what it does is, okay, use the data model. Yes, we're going to use the data model itself. So if I show you, so this is AP invoices _ DM, so XDM, and that's what we're going to use. I'm going to select use report editor, and I'm going to use guide me, and then click on next. All right, so it's going to give you different options, whether it is portrait, landscape, do you need a header, footer, etc. So I'm going to select landscape. How is it going to look like? I'm going to just select the default option of table, click on next. This is where you can see the data source itself. So it shows you the different data fields. I'm going to select the invoice number for this example. Invoice date, description. Oh, we didn't select. Okay, yeah, we selected invoice amount. So I'm going to select invoice amount. Then maybe that's enough for now. Okay, click on, so the bottom you'll see show grants total, show grant totals row. So if I remove this, you'll see the total row at the bottom. If I can remove it, it's gone. So do I need it? Yeah, I don't mind having it. Okay, so I'll select that option and then click on next. All right, so you have two options. You can now go ahead and view the report, or you can customize the report layout. I'm going to select customize report layout and click on finish. It's going to ask you to give a name for the report, right? So remember, we are in the data models folder here. So I'm going to go back to the BIP tutorials and save it as AP invoices report. Okay, simple. You can copy and paste that into the description as well and click on OK. Wonderful. So now it's going to show you the report layout where we can make changes to the layout. All right, so this is how it's going to look like. It's a portrait, the landscape option. We have the header, which is basically the name of the report that we created. You have the invoice number, date, description, and the invoice amount. You also have the grand total record. Now, first thing I want to do is change the number format. So I'm going to select the column. Then once you select the number column, so again, let me show you that one more time. First, it's going to select the entire table. Click one more time, and then it's going to select the column. Here, you can see the data formatting. I'm going to go ahead and change this to a currency. So maybe this one. So it's going to show me the currency simple, 2 decimal places, and the formatting. Okay, so I'm good with that. Now, I'm going to go into the totals cell. So now I'm going to go into the cell, right? So okay, first is a table, then it's the column, then it's the cell, specific cell that I want. I'm going to change the number formatting to bold and increase the font to maybe 9 points so that it looks good, right? The last thing, the other thing I want is the total text here. So I'm going to select this cell, double click on it, and then call it. Sorry, my keyboard is acting pretty strange today. All right, so I'm going to select that cell again, make it bold so it looks like this, right? You do have the option to change the headers. So here it says invoice underscore num, invoice underscore date, stuff like that. So I can select each one, then either go here or I can go to, I believe I can go to properties, right? So you can see the property. So either you can double click on this cell and change it here, or you could change it here. So I'm just gonna call this, I believe I can, let me see. Yes. Sorry about that. Maybe it's because I'm typing too fast. Okay, so you can see the column label change. So same way you can go ahead and change this. I'm gonna just call this invoice date. Let's call this description. Obviously, I'll just change this invoice description, And this one would be amount. All right. Obviously, you can change the font, the type of the formatting, the font type, size, and everything else. All right. So we have changed all of those things. Now, what I want to do is AP invoices report. This is the header, right? So I can double click on that. Then I can change that to invoice report. Okay, that sounds good. All right, so this is all good. So I've made changes to my layout. I like the way it looks. I can click on save here and then click on done. All right, now it's going to take me to the report itself. And by default, it's going to run the report and show it here. All right. There you go. So you have all of the data from the system. Obviously, that's a lot of data. But in the next video, we will try to control, maybe look at a certain date range. All of that things we can do in the next video. You can see that there's 1,520 pages and it didn't take much time at all. So that way you can see the efficiency and the performance of the report itself, right? All right, so now I want to go back to the report and I wanted to show a few other things, right? So here we are in the output. Now I'm going to go back to edit report. Few things I want to show you. So we created one layout, right? So one layout where it shows all of the columns that we wanted, right? Click on properties. Here you're going to see run report online. Okay, don't worry about anything else. Just click on auto run. Look at auto run, right? So uncheck this. So this way, you're not, when you open the report, it's not running by itself. You have to click on view report. So this is especially useful when we are developing the data model, developing the report, because we have to test it multiple times. So let's have that option where we are explicitly viewing the report rather than auto running the report. All right, so this way you can change that. So let me go back to edit report. All right, so you can have multiple layouts and we will take a look at having multiple layouts for one report. Okay, for this one we have one layout, which is AP invoices report. You can delete, edit, and you can look at the properties. So if I look at the properties, it just shows you the different templates. You have it in translation, stuff like that. Click on return. All right. If you edit, it's going to take you to the template layout editor. And then if you click on view a list, it's going to show you all of the layouts that you have. And then the template file, XBT, right? Output formats. You can select the output format. So I'm going to remove RTF from here. Remove PowerPoint from here and everything else. So what's the default output format, stuff like that. Okay, so you can do that and we'll take a look at all of these things in the later videos. All right, okay, so let me go back to the catalog and like I explained in the last video, this is where you can see the data model that is associated with the report. Okay, so let me click on catalog. And it's going to take me back to the BIP tutorials folder. You can see the data models folder here. If I expand, you can see the data model that we created. If I click on go back to the BIP tutorials folder, you can see the report that we created. All right. So I'm going to end this video here. I know it was a bit longer video, but I had to explain some of the things. So in this video, we looked at how to create a simple data model and also how to create a simple report from that data model. All right, in the next video, we'll get into more details. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have specific questions, let me know. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn. I try to respond to most of the messages. And there was a request from someone on LinkedIn asking me to create a tutorial on SQL itself. Let me know if you guys are interested. If there's a need for creating a video tutorial on Oracle SQL, I can do that. But my focus is on being a publisher tutorial now. All right. Again, I'm very happy to get your feedback. So if you have feedback, comments, suggestions, let me know. And I wish you all a very wonderful week ahead. And I'll talk to you in the next one. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Take care, guys. Bye.